There we go.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Amazing. Hey, Aubrey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great too. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate
Of course, man. Anything for the cause.
it. Exactly, yeah. That's something that I love about Bitcoiners. I've been running meetups for now 3 years, and everybody is just incredible. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Where
that.
are where are you based?
Right now, I live in Innisfil,
Okay.
very close to Berry.
Hmm,
What
nice.
about you?
I'm in Toronto, pretty
Right.
close to downtown. Yeah, I'm in just off the Danforth and Broadview.
Oh, perfect. Yes, it is. I used to go, well, pretty much as a Scotia banker, pretty much, and I used to work at TD. It's
Okay.
King and
Yeah.
Bay all the time for the last 12 years.
The belly of the beast.
Exactly. That's so funny. Um, we have a packed agenda, and usually how I start these calls is I introduce myself, tell you a little bit about the project, what we're doing, and answer any questions. And if you're okay, I would like to ask you more questions about your journey, about
Of
Bitcoin.
course. Yeah.
The most important part is that all of this information is recorded, but it's going to be anonymized because we're going to be using AI to extract the insights and to correlate and do all of these fancy things.
Cool.
But cool. So just to introduce myself, Miguel, I'm originally from Mexico and I've been living in Canada for the last 15 years. And I'm a banker. Back in Mexico, I was the CEO of a coffee company, come to Canada. Uh, couldn't make it in a way like to transition because of all different things about immigration and employment. So 5 years survival jobs. I started as a banker and I've been a banker since then.
Mhm.
I manage all the savings accounts across Canada, projects, transformation, and everything. But all of that fanciness changed during the pandemic because I had a dream about my son. I became a father for the first time. So I had this dream of my son in the future. And I don't know how, but in that dream, I'm talking with my son about economics, finance, politics. We are having a really nice debate. And my son tells me, Dad, you were there when Bitcoin started. Why you didn't do anything about it? And I was like, oh. And I said, well, it was bad for the environment, only for criminals, a scam, you name it. So long story short, he tells me, no, Dad, I know you. You didn't do your homework. And I woke up and I studied this thing like a madman. I just went crazy, took all the courses, books, you name it. I have my library of books. And the more I studied, as you know, the more it changed me, changed my perspective, changed everything. So and that is why we're here, because I've been trying. Well, my biggest accomplishment was to orange pill my father and father-in-law. They're in their
Mhm.
70s. It took me
Yeah.
3 years. And they both told me, Miguel, I wish I had listened to you 3 years ago. So the classic story.
Mhm.
So since then, I've been thinking, how can we make this thing faster for not the innovators, not the early adopters, but the next cohorts of people, which are the early majority, the laggards, like in the innovation curve. And that is why the objective with this project is to collect as many stories as possible, start identifying trends, figure out triggers, pain points, friction points, and then with that, extrapolate for the next cohort, like to cross the chasm and extrapolate to the next cohort to be like, okay, this is how we can reach them faster. So
Mhm.
with your help and with your story and many others, that's the objective. How does
Awesome.
that sound? Yeah,
That's
awesome, man.
incredible. And I
Cool.
love your story, the dream. That's just amazing.
I know it's so weird. I think it's destiny because as a banker, I have a lot of friends in bank. We are too smart for Bitcoin. That's our problem, and we don't appreciate it until Bitcoin humbled me enough to be like, yes, totally. Now I'm ready to receive it, to learn, and it has changed everything. I tell people, I'm a banker, 12 years banker, masters in finance. I crunch numbers better than Spanish, and I learned how to what is money just 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Insane. So,
Yeah.
well, my first question to you, Aubrey, is if you can tell me more about who are you.
Mhm.
I saw a little bit about your background on LinkedIn, but tell me more about where you grew up, what you used to do when you were like little, a little bit
Yeah,
more like a context. This is going to be almost
sure.
like if we were filming a documentary on your Bitcoin journey. So it's like,
Hmm.
just explain us a little bit more about you.
Sure. So I grew up in Thunder Bay, Ontario, small town,
Hey.
northwestern Canada, tip of Lake Superior.
Yeah.
Grew up playing sports, hockey, soccer, football. Those were kind of my big three. Um, I was good enough at football that I thought I could play in university, and I applied to a couple different schools and sent in my highlight tape, and started talking to Waterloo, and they said, yeah, we'd love to have you on the team. And so I had to figure out what I was going to study in university. I hadn't thought a whole lot about that. And originally I went in for kinesiology,
Yeah.
needed to upgrade my calculus mark. So I ended up taking a first year calculus class, failed that miserably. So I transferred into sociology because kinesiology was clearly not going to happen for me. And I did a semester of soc and found that just way too easy and thought, like, what am I really going to do with a sociology degree? At the time, I was taking Econ 101 and just really enjoyed learning about economics and supply and demand. And we had some great teachers at Waterloo. Um, that first year econ class is pretty innocent. You don't really get into the Keynesian stuff quite
Yeah.
yet, especially in 101. I think it's micro or mac. Yeah, it's micro. Anyways.
Yeah.
And so then I decided to make the full switch into economics, and knowing there'd be some math, but at this point I was like, I'll just have to figure it out. Like I can't afford to fail another class. And I'm playing football, and I wanted to stay at the school and in school and get some kind of degree. Econ appealed to me, and so I
Wow.
did my degree at Waterloo.
What is this year? Like just to have a timeline.
This would have been 2006 or 2000. Yeah, 2006 or 2007
Okay. Okay.
when I
Pretty good.
started Waterloo, and then I guess I would have left there 2012 or so. I stuck around for an extra year, took my time. When we're
Okay.
playing sports, we quite often don't take a full load of classes just because it demands so much of your time. And so I took my time on the degree and spent that extra year in Waterloo. Um, at the same time, in my second to last year studying, I got a job at a software company through the co-op program,
Cool.
and that was downtown, York, Young and York Mills, so a little outside of downtown, but it was in Toronto, and so
Yeah.
I came down here for the summer, and living in the big city for the first time, working at this pretty big software company, and it was just the coolest thing ever. Um, and that was my introduction into software. Um, they ended up hiring me back once I graduated, and I moved to Toronto full time after that to continue working with this company. And again, yeah, that was kind of my life for 3 years, and until I realized, like, you know what, I really don't love this job. Like, I don't. It's not fulfilling. Um, I'm not someone who enjoys working for other people. Ultimately, I think I learned that about myself fairly early on.
Yeah.
Just because of I mean, if I was getting paid more, maybe sure, but like it just didn't feel like, the amount of time and effort and stress. And I look back at photos of myself from that time, and I just looked like I
A
looked
ghost.
old. I looked old, yeah, and like pale and whatever. Um, and so I started working on an iOS app with one of the interns who I was working with at the time, and we became really good friends. And to make a long story short, we published an app in the App Store. It got the attention of some guys in downtown Toronto who were also working on something similar, some TD bankers actually, who ended up being cool. And so we kind of all got together one day and said, hey, we've had similar ideas. Why don't we, instead of competing with each other, just start, a new company, a new app, and just
Okay.
really take a proper shot at this thing. And so that became the first company that I worked for, and was one of the 7 co-founders of, and became a startup called Funds, which
Bonds,
was
yes.
super popular in downtown Toronto for quite a few years. And so that was kind of my gateway out of the rat race, I guess, if you want to call it. And so I was able to quit my job and work full time for the startup that I, had helped create. We raised some money from investors, and yeah, that's really where I kind of grew in my career as a product manager, as a growth marketer. I just read every book on data science and UX and user experience and customer field, just everything you can imagine, marketing, positioning, and all to perform in my role at Buns. And then unfortunately that didn't work out. We ran out of money. The team had grown quite large. I think at its largest, we had 23 employees, an office right on Queen and Bathurst, super old warehouse. We had 500,000 users, largely in part to me leading the marketing team. I really kind of found some success there. And but we did run out, and it ended, and it was heartbreaking, but it is what it is. And like you, that would have been around COVID when I found myself unemployed.
No way. Okay.
And I mean, now I'm going to transition. Like, I guess, do you want to jump in? Like, I can kind of just transition into my Bitcoin story
And
here.
yeah. In fact, I was going to ask you, when did Bitcoin happen? Like, through this journey, did you hear about Bitcoin? Did you know about Bitcoin? Or because I want to ask you as well, what was your life and your money mindset before Bitcoin, and then like the transition?
So yeah, that's a good question. So when I'm working at the startup at Buns, I get to the point where I'm making decent money, and I'm not saving. I'm spending everything. I'm thinking, this is it. We're going to be rich. And, when I get my equity payout, it's going to, be a windfall. And so I'm spending every dollar I make, and rent is expensive, and, but we're going out and I'm buying furniture and things for the house, and, nice clothes and things like that. Not saving at all. Just have not really ever been someone to save. And that's just how it was for me. At the same time, I started learning about Bitcoin in 2016, except that it was more about crypto for me in the beginning. So I'd looked into Bitcoin, and it was very brief. I'd seen the price action, and just thought, okay, I've clearly missed the boat on this. Like, at the time it would have been like $300, $500. And so I started looking for the next, well, what's going to be the next Bitcoin, here, and we're downtown, and I think we had like friends who were friends with some of the Ethereum guys. And there was rumors of someone having made like $100 million off of Ethereum. And I mean, I think it was one of the founder guys thinking about it in hindsight. And so we're just thinking, okay, Ethereum, like this is the next Bitcoin. And so my kind of journey into Bitcoin started by looking for the next Bitcoin. And, I got into all the shit coins, a handful of them, and didn't think too much of it. I just thought, okay, Bitcoin, cool. It's this new thing. I missed the boat. Let's try to make some money on whatever is going to be next.
So quick question. What was that trigger for you to look into crypto? Because were you looking to invest? Were you looking to like what, or like did you read something, a book? What was that?
I'd done, a bit of trading on Quest Trade, like self-managed kind of thing, and done some gambling with options, and it was never super serious. It was more like playing earnings and things like this. So I had some experience investing or trading, whatever you want to call it. And so I think I approached crypto more from that trading mindset, like, oh, this is a new thing. People seem to be making money. If this is the new thing, I want to kind of know about it or be a part of it. And
Yep.
and that's all there was to it. I wasn't thinking of like, separating money and state or
Nothing like that. Yeah, we're going to get there.
self-sovereignty. Yeah, yeah. And
But
go
can you
ahead.
recall the very first time you heard Bitcoin? What was,
Mm,
where were you? Who mentioned it? What was that gut reaction?
yeah. And I actually can't, but it's crazy. In 2016, when I started to look into Bitcoin and Ethereum, I actually went and made a Coinbase account. And when I
Hmm.
typed in my email, it said, this email is already taken. I'm thinking, well, like nobody else has my email. And so I typed in the password that I use for or used to use for everything. And it logs me in. And I'm like, what? Like I already have a Coinbase account. And I go to settings and it says this account was created in 2014. And then I'm thinking back and I'm like, that's right. I had heard about Bitcoin. I signed up for Coinbase. I tried to buy Bitcoin in 2014, but they only accepted credit card and they just
Right.
didn't accept my Canadian credit card. And and then I just that memory is clear to me now that it was like I received an error and it's like, no, we can't accept your credit card. And I okay, just gave up. That was it. And so I don't recall my first time hearing Bitcoin, whether that, I mean, it would have probably been on Reddit or,
Right.
or just from working at the startup in tech. Like I'd be going to Tech TO and these different meetups in Toronto. So I was
It was not
exposed.
something that you remember like it was so emotional or anything like that. It was just like, oh, a random thing, just like
No,
this is,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
just a thing. And internet money, probably. And
Yeah.
and so
So
yeah, go ahead.
right now, of course, the transformation was very fast because if that is 2016, 2018, let's say that, and now you are the CEO of an exchange. Uh,
Mhm.
we're going to go, we're going to get there, but from that first impression to like, I actually am going to spend more time learning about it. What was it?
Mhm.
Let's say, what was that trigger that make you go deeper into understanding Bitcoin? Because you started first with Ethereum. I did the same, by the way, as a banker trader.
Mhm.
Uh, what was the thing? Is like, okay, no, this thing is different, or I want to learn more.
I guess the fact that it just wasn't going away. And
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing for me when I first started learning about Bitcoin in 2016 and why I was kind of, I'd say, repelled from it was because it was at the height of the block size war, which I didn't know what was happening at the time. But when I would go on Reddit, I just saw these two factions clashing viciously, both sides accusing the other
Yeah.
of corporate takeover and
Yeah.
calling each other all the names. And and so I'm thinking, okay, I missed the boat. This community's divided. Like
It's very crazy. Yeah.
this thing is finished. Like this looks done to me. And they're talking about hard forks, and I don't even know what that is. And to me,
Right.
it just looked finished. And so again, I went the long roundabout way. But I guess just to summarize, like the journey, um, it was 2016, 27, 2018, and I rode that whole crypto wave up and down, and maybe held a little bit of Bitcoin, but primarily Ethereum and the few others. And but the whole time I would have been picking away, like something about Bitcoin, maybe because it just didn't die. Like I thought it was going to die, and it didn't die. And
So that piqued your interest. It's like, why
mhm,
this thing is not dying?
yeah, it's like something's there. And it's like this is the biggest. I thought it was done. It's
Right.
but it's not. And then you had the Bcash fork, and then that the fork died, and so there's all these little things starting to add up for me, and I'm like, and I'm constantly trying to understand it, but just not getting it. And I probably didn't read the white paper until 2018. Um, and I'd been reading Anthony Pompliano's newsletters, and I think
Yeah.
he was writing at the time, he was writing really quality newsletters about Bitcoin. So he contributed to my orange pilling. I would have been reading I'm trying to think of like what happened in what order, but it was probably Pomp first, and whatever it was led up to me reading the Bitcoin Standard in
Okay.
late 2018, maybe early 2019, probably late 2018. And so then I read the Bitcoin Standard, didn't put it down. Probably took me a few days. As soon as I started, I was like, oh, this is the book I've been waiting for. Like, this is explaining everything. It was answering all my questions, just like boom, boom, boom. Okay, now I get it. Now this makes sense. And then immediately after, I mean, at that time, there was like a curriculum. It was like, you finish reading the Bitcoin Standard, you read The Price of Tomorrow. So I picked up
Yes.
The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth. And then after that, it was Parker Lewis, the whole Gradually Then Suddenly series, Bullish Case for
Yeah.
Bitcoin by
That was
BJ.
me too. Yeah.
Yeah. And Breedlove's writing at
Yes.
the time. So like Masters and Slaves of Money, Bitcoin and the Number Zero. And he was, pretty inspiring to me back then as like, this Viking guy just writing like writing like he's Plato or Socrates about Bitcoin. And
Yeah.
I remember it was on a podcast of his with Pompliano. It was on Pomp's podcast, but it was Breedlove, and they were talking about path dependence and why absolute scarcity was a one-time invention and why this cannot happen again. And that was probably after reading the Bitcoin stuff. Like, that was another huge aha moment for me, where I'd
Okay.
really, like, that was a sticking point, and I was like, but why can't this happen
Yeah.
again? Or what, like, all
You're
these
repeated.
coins are claiming to be scarce
Better.
or in various ways. Like, why is that not a true claim? And it was also Parker's blog, Bitcoin Not Crypto, and talking about, again, path dependence and kind of Bitcoin's feedback loop of price, miners, users, nodes, and it's just like, and liquidity, and it's just kind of the self-reinforcing mechanism where Bitcoin's now become the biggest, the strongest, the most liquid,
Yeah.
all on the premise of, fixed supply of 21 million, absolute scarcity. And when I got that, that was like, yeah, that was probably like the final dagger in the coffin, where it was like, boom, this is
This is
this
it.
is this is like something really special. Yeah.
So for you, it clicked when you understood the scarcity,
Mm-hmm.
when you understood
Yeah.
all of these elements that add up into that. So all of these ingredients. That's great. So
Mm-hmm.
out of all of your journey, what has been the single or the hardest part of that journey? Was it the technical side, economics, or something else completely? Like, what was the most difficult, I guess, part to understand?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Learning about money was new, and the properties of money.
And you graduate economics.
And I had a
So
degree in economics, yeah. And I'd never, we didn't talk about store of value medium, and maybe we did. I don't remember learning that in university though. And um, yeah,
like
we're
money,
taught to, they're showing us the equation of how to maximize GDP, where it's like
uh,
government spend a function, literally a function of government spending, and
yeah,
this is just so backwards. But in terms, like, the sticking point for me, I think was what I said, was
yeah,
why can't this happen again? Why is Bitcoin
the
or
only.
absolute scarcity a one-time discovery?
I'm loving this story because we're so similar. It's crazy. I'm getting even like goosebumps
No,
because, yeah, it's like, first of all, my wife is from Sudbury, so Thunder Bay is very close,
okay.
and very similar to your journey about like learning and the sequence. So amazing. Let's talk about your first purchase.
Mhm.
What year was that? You mentioned the first purchase, and usually I ask to ask this differently because the first purchase usually just like, oh, this is a stock, or this is something that you don't have anything, or you don't feel that special. But then there is another first purchase that is also of meaning, like that is more, maybe more,
Mhm.
maybe it's bigger, or maybe it's like, no, actually I'm buying this because this is the thing. So
Mhm.
I think you mentioned that you tried to buy it in 2014, then 2016 you noticed that you have your Coinbase account. Do you have that first purchase back in that time, or
Well, that
did that?
would have, again, like, so it was mostly Ethereum and the basket of cryptos.
Right.
And I may or may not have had some Bitcoin, but I think my first meaningful purchase was when, 2019 came around and I sold all of the cryptos to
Yeah.
buy Bitcoin. So I liquidated everything and put it all into Bitcoin. And so, I mean, from an educational standpoint, I don't know, I already had my stuff on the exchange, but
Right.
the, I remember clearly the thought process there was relief. Like
Relief.
I I
Okay.
mean, I was someone trying to read these white papers of these cryptos and talk to people and get into the telegrams and like, what's the next big thing, and try to understand. And it's a nightmare to navigate. Like, I'm working full time at a startup, and but yeah, I still felt like I had to do something to get ahead. And then I just remember thinking like, wow, like, this is amazing. I can actually just buy and hold Bitcoin and never have to deal with any of this bullshit ever again, and just focus on my job and things I enjoy, like going to the gym. And
Yeah.
and uh that was huge for me. Yeah.
So that in that moment, what service did you use? It was the same exchange? Was that a custodial,
Um
non-custodial?
it probably would have been like Newton, I think,
Oh, okay.
at the time. Yeah. Newton. I
Because
mean, I was on, no, I mean, I would have had Bitcoin and Ethereum on Quadriga, actually.
no way.
Yeah. I remember selling $1,000 of Bitcoin on Quadriga and taking custody because we heard rumors that that stuff
Well done.
was going down. Yeah.
So by then you already knew how to take custody. That's kind of like my question
Yeah.
in terms of like
Yeah.
you already
Yeah.
educated yourself. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't remember when I ordered that first hardware wallet. Um, Probably shortly after reading the Bitcoin Standard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Hmm.
Or even the price of tomorrow too, as well. Um, because that happened to me as well.
I
Once
mean, it
I
might have been earlier because like it was still like self custody was a thing even with shitcoins, and so I
yeah,
probably did it for, yeah. I mean, at some point during the learning
yeah.
phase.
I think I remember my first one was Ledger, just
Yeah.
because
Same.
the optionality and yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Perfect. So let's talk about more about how Bitcoin has changed your day-to-day or your year-to-year behavior. Think about how you are saving, spending, and planning for the future. The new you and versus the you before Bitcoin. So what is the difference?
Hmm. Um, well, the biggest thing Bitcoin did for me was give me time and the ability to think about what I wanted to do. So, um, when I lost my job at Buns, or when Buns ended, and I'd been applying for jobs, um, in product management, which is already a very competitive
Competitive.
job to get, and downtown Toronto, and then COVID hit, and all the companies that I was applying to start laying off dozens, if not, you know, multiple dozens of employees. And so here I am, knowing that I'm not going to get a job. Like, I was applying to like Uber, Ritual, Majuri, anyone who is doing something fun in software, and then they just all start laying people off. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, it's COVID. Um, I'm unemployed. All I can think about is Bitcoin, and I'm doing interviews, and I'm doing my best, but in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't really want this
Yeah.
job, and
Yeah.
and and at the same time, I'd been orange pilling all my family members and friends, and when I finally would break through, I'd only have two choices as far as I was concerned. It was either ShakePay or Newton in terms of like user friendliness. But I hated how they were both of shitcoins, or in ShakePay's case, Ethereum. But I remember even, I mean, if we're getting really granular, what I didn't love about ShakePay was that it was custodial, Ethereum, custodial, and just how they had like the price chart and things like this, because I'd orange pilled my dad, and he was, really into it, as people are in the beginning, but he's opening up the app every day and seeing the price and seeing that sell button, and then he just got back to me one day and he's like, hey, I got this email newsletter from Robert Kiyosaki. He thinks a crash is coming, and so I'm gonna sell all my Bitcoin and then buy it back lower. And I know he's having this idea because he's looking at the sell button and the price every day. And on top of that, they're sending out emails about the merge and things like this. And I'm like, man, like I went through all this effort to orange pill my family members and friends, and now they're getting back to me like, what's the merge, or like, what's Ripple on Newton? Right. And it's like, dude, like this is a mess. And so that was kind of where the seed for Beaver began, was that I was unemployed. All I could think about was Bitcoin, and Bitcoin had then given me, a cushion of like, okay, I mean, I have like 4 or 5 years worth of savings to do something else. Cool. And so that's the biggest way it's affected me, was it gave me time and allowed me to make the decision to commit to Beaver. Beaver was something I would have wanted to do regardless. I would have had that desire for a non-custodial Bitcoin only, low fees platform for my family and for my friends. But Bitcoin actually gave me the opportunity to build it, just because I'd, spent the time learning about it and investing in it. And it was almost like giving back to me. It's like, hey, you got it, and now you can have this time to
as I see your stories, like it gives you your time, but also your focus, because from starting in a career that was like into like, oh, this is more cool, and now it's like, oh, this is the coolest, like this is like the most amazing too. So I want to ask about this question about when you commit your time and money into Bitcoin, what was that future problem you were trying to solve with Bitcoin? Do you remember having that thought? It's like, oh, with this I'm fixing blank.
When I purchased Bitcoin?
Yeah, when you did that first meaningful purchase, you were doing it because Bitcoin for you was solving a future problem. What was that problem?
I mean, back then I would have looked at it, I don't know that it was solving a problem. I think for me, I guess it would have just been like money and wealth. Like
an outcome.
I'm putting my money into the strongest money to ever exist, and I believe that others are going to have the same realization, and that the value of that money is going to increase over time. And again, it was not having to think about like, oh, should I put it in stocks or some fund or some crypto? It was just like, no, I've done the work. I understand that this is the best place for my money, and I don't have to think about it, and I can just buy more whenever I have savings.
So peace of mind, safety,
peace of mind. Yeah.
Okay.
I think peace of mind was huge. I just remember being so relieved that I didn't have to think about this bullshit anymore. Like,
oh man, so similar. I used to have margin accounts in the hundreds of thousands and being so stressed about that, like being triggered, but I'm so similar because I felt the same way. The relief, the weight of the world just exit. Very quickly, question about, I want to measure the conviction that you have about Bitcoin. Of course, it's very, very high, but it's like from 1 to 10, 1 is like, hey, Bitcoin is a cool technology, interesting, on my radar. I check the price occasionally. Or 10, which Bitcoin has fundamentally changed how I see my worldview. I actively educate friends and family. It's part of my financial and philosophical operating system. Where are you from 1 to 10?
10, of course.
I knew that.
Yeah.
So tell us more about Beaver in terms
Mhm.
of like within a year of you being, thinking about I exit or I was let go of that job. It's a pandemic, and it's like I'm going to focus on this. I have a little bit of time on my side. How did that came to be
Mhm.
like, okay, now it's Beaver, and how do you see this in, your participation in the ecosystem like move ahead in the future?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just a combination of my two worlds. Like I, only ever worked in software, and then, became entrepreneurial in software quite early in my career, only after 3 years or 3 years out of school. And then, at Buns, I'd kind of grown my chops as a team leader and product leader, all these things, marketing. And then, in parallel, had been learning about Bitcoin, and then became a fanatic, and was educating all my family members and friends, but then running into that problem of, oh, man, this, like,
Where to
this is
recommend
not,
them?
yeah, this is not great. This could be better. And so then for me, it was just, it just made perfect sense. It was like, I can combine both of my passions into one thing.
Yeah,
And it was just, yeah, it just made perfect sense. And um, yeah, I had friends who right away agreed to join as
yeah,
co-founders, and each bringing different talents, and so we had the perfect team from, you know month month one or month two. And it took a couple years to get off the ground. It wasn't easy learning about
yeah.
exchanges and payment processing and regulations. That's
The relation.
the regulation was a whole thing I'd very naively not thought about at all, but that that learning came fast. And so then where do we fit? I think we really designed Beaver for like the next generation of Bitcoin adoption in Canada, and I don't even think we've seen it yet,
No.
or even come close. But it's really coming from a place of like, what is the platform I want for my family members and friends? Like, what platform can I confidently recommend to them, where I know they're not going to be tempted to trade or time the market, where I know they're going to be taking automatic self custody because we're non-custodial,
Yeah,
and just having a good user experience. Like, it's very clean, it's very simple. Um, you couldn't really screw it up if you tried. So
that's amazing. And how does your like exchange plays with Bull Bitcoin, Bitcoin Well, and there is tons more, but like the other ones have cheat coins, so
mhm,
we can just ignore them. But the ones that are self custody and Bitcoin only.
mhm. I think we're just coming at it from a different angle. And so, just like you have TD, RBC, Scotia, it's like, well, of course there's room for
Yeah,
half dozen exchanges, and if we can position ourselves as the most simple, whereas Bow is a little more advanced, and they have liquid and they have lightning and limit orders and things like that, and they have some
yeah,
really great features that I use myself. Like, I just sent myself euros when I was in
yeah.
Spain, or did Bitcoin to euros to a friend's bank account. Whereas Beaver is just buy, sell.
Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Bull Bitcoin is more advanced for sure. It has so much, and the
Mhm.
wallet as well. It's like,
Yeah. And I mean, I, I would never speak ill of them, but like, even just recently on Reddit, someone posted about accidentally buying LBTC when they, as a newbie on Bull, they accidentally bought liquid, and then tried to send it to their on chain, and they were just having this whole thing. And I'm like, you know what, like,
mm,
that's kind of why we exist, is because
just
you
simple,
wouldn't have had that problem with
right?
Beaver. Yeah.
Right now that I'm trying to explain people liquid, lightning, on chain, and then they get
Mhm.
so confused. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's start with the basics.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
mean, like, as a product person, every little thing, like, you come to understand like how much these things matter. Like, if I'm looking at a screen,
Yeah.
and there's anything on that screen that I don't understand,
Yeah.
I get, you just get a sense of this is too much. Like, this is overwhelming. There's terms that I don't know what they mean,
Yeah.
and that this thing might not necessarily be for me, or this is just complicated, or and it
I
can be
love
the
that.
smallest thing. And so, we appreciate everything Bull does and has done, and the same with Bitcoin. Well, and yeah, we just have a different approach.
Different flavor. And you're right. Every pixel matters. So
Mhm.
as a product person, it's like, yep, yeah, totally. You got it.
Yeah.
Um, one of my last questions, I promise, very quickly.
Yours?
Since becoming a Bitcoiner, has your conviction been ever been seriously tested? Tell me about the time where you say like, oh man, I feel doubt, or how did you overcome like I guess after the block size war. Right now, we are experiencing another very interesting moment where people are also like on two sides. Uh,
Mhm.
has your conviction on Bitcoin, especially now that you have a life, a business in Bitcoin, ever been seriously tested?
Yeah, and I mean, let me think. Like, I think from the time you have that first kind of aha moment, it's, you have like this euphoria, but then the next day you're like, wait, what about this?
Yeah,
And what about quantum computers, and what about these and you really have to work your way through this list. And I mean, I would say I've fallen susceptible to FUD
yeah,
over the years, while I was still early on in my learning. But I think it would be your typical government's going to ban it until you realize, well, that would be very hard, or if not impossible, or quantum's going to come mess everything up until you realize, well, we could fork to a new algorithm if we have to when that day comes, or we can prepare for it. And so, I mean, from an educational standpoint, I think a holistic education, like, does address probably every one of those points, um, because I mean, it's fairly easy for people to come up with those themselves.
so to overcome it is just like more education, community for you. Like what worked better?
Well, being on X for sure, like seeing people I
Oh yeah,
respect, seeing people I respect having these convos and telling me, it's going to be okay, or pointing me to the resource, explaining why it's going to be okay,
yeah,
is massively helpful. Yeah.
awesome. You still have time for two questions?
Yeah. Lots of time. All right.
Oh, perfect. Uh, I'm trying to also understand the social aspect that Bitcoin brings, and I remember that, and maybe let's go just one step back in terms of like when you started in Bitcoin. What was your perception of the Bitcoin people back in the day? Because you mentioned in 2014, 2016, it's like, well, this community is crazy. This thing is
Mhm.
going to fail.
Mhm.
What did you believe separated you from them back in the day?
Um, do you mean like why I was turned away initially?
Yes,
Well, it wasn't the people, it was the division in
the
general.
division.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I do remember, in when I was early on in that learning, like really looking up to people like Breedlove, Parker Lewis, Saifuddin, um, Andreas, Pomp, and then some of these people have over time kind of maybe shown different sides of themselves that maybe I agree with them less, or they're not exactly who I thought they were.
Yeah,
But people seem to be coming from a good place, and like Adam Back, and Samson Mao, Francis, of course. And it just seemed, I mean, conviction, and it just seemed like their heart was in the right place, and they had this unshakable belief. And uh and you just didn't get that with any of these other shit coins. And the
yeah,
memes, the Bitcoiners have the best memes. And I remember, someone
yeah,
made a comment of like, like ETH tards can't meme, because their whole thing is built on a foundation of lies, and good memes are built on top of things that are true, and
Yeah.
that's what makes it a good meme. So I think the memes as well, hugely important.
Yes. Okay. Very good.
Mhm.
What do you believe is the single biggest misconception that is stopping your smartest friends from taking Bitcoin seriously today?
Hmm. I mean, when I'm having the talks, I'd say more often than not, the objection is like government will ban. Yeah. Oh, but government will ban it. Like governments won't let that happen. That's the single
Yep.
biggest one. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Last question. What role do you see Bitcoin playing in your life in the next 10 years?
Mm. I would hope that it's business as usual. I want to continue building up this exchange. Um, if things go well for us, then maybe we'll look at expanding our suite of Bitcoin financial services as adoption grows. We're very much a laggard. We'll always be behind in terms of, we're not going to be the first on the boat to offer Bitcoin lending. But, I think once enough people own Bitcoin and see it as valuable, then, getting into lending will be something that makes sense, or maybe cross-border payments, get into things like that Bull has done. Once people are ready, once that, like, we're just like a cohort or two behind, right? And so, yeah, just keep building products. We want to build
Love
an
that.
app, and yeah, I'll be here and be doing
Amazing.
my
Amazing.
thing.
Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Aubrey. This is amazing. Really, really happy. I see a lot of similarities with my own personal journey, so I can see
Mhm.
how we're so connected. And as a final point, it's if you're okay, I can add you into our wall of heroes of people that participate in this project, and to reference you, and also to reference your LinkedIn or
Yeah,
Beaver or whatever
of
you
course.
want.
Yeah, LinkedIn, Twitter, Beaver, everything. Anything's
Amazing.
good.
And I will be sharing the insights of this research with all of you guys, and be sending emails about like, hey, how many I have done during the week and
Amazing.
the month, and then just to keep you more up to date. And you are a product person, so
Fantastic.
you understand
Yeah.
how important this thing is.
Yeah. Awesome. That's super exciting. And do you,
Uh,
you guys have a website, right?
yes, yes, yes. The bitcoinsherpa.io. I'm going to be posting more things there. Right now, it's just like a landing page for getting Bitcoiners to sign up for these calls.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, like
Cool.
I'm going
Well,
to
if
be
there's,
posting.
yeah,
Yeah,
awesome. If there's anything else we can do to help or work together,
for sure.
um, we have a newsletter that goes out once a week. 1,000
Oh, perfect.
people typically read it. Um,
Amazing,
if
amazing.
if we can direct people your way or something, like if you want that,
Oh,
let
that would
me.
be incredible. For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can send you more information to you, Aubrey, or anyone on your team, and we're like, hey, this could be incredible as well.
cool,
Yeah,
awesome.
awesome, Aubrey. Well, thank you so much, and wish you a great week, man. Now you just piqued my interest, because Beaver, I knew about Beaver. It's like, well, but now that I know, and especially because I host meetups, I'm going to be like,
Mhm.
okay, no, I'm going to go deep, and I'm going to test it out. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
this is simple.
please do,
Check it
and
out.
let me know if you have feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's an opportunity for us to do more together, like we sponsor meetups and do things like that. So
Oh, cool, man. Yeah,
I'm
totally.
here. I'm here if you need me.
Perfect. Yes. I'm going to also let you know more about the meetups that we do and the presentations. Very quickly, I did 2 presentations. Is Bitcoin right for my business, for very business owners, and 14 business owners show up, and
Wow.
really good conversation. And then I did another in Oakville about learning Bitcoin from zero to Bitcoin, learning with AI prompts. So a collection of AI prompts that teach
Mm.
you, personalize it. So I'm going to send it to you just for you to
Yeah,
test it
yeah.
out, because the feedback that I got, because I did this presentation for the AI Collective, it's a big organization about AI non-for-profit, is that everybody got their explanations in their own language. in terms of like the profession, their education, their understanding, and their level of knowledge. So it was like a personalized coach, mentor to explain you Bitcoin and in your own, I guess, way for you to understand it. So
That's cool.
yeah, I can send you that too.
Yeah, please.
So, totally, man. Well, appreciate you, man. And
Man, likewise. Had a great time. Keep in touch.
awesome, man.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Take care.